Professor Adams enters and writes, legal compliance, on the board. Emma, Ryan, and Sophia are seated in the front row, chatting quietly. Professor Adams, good morning, class. Today, we're talking about something that will be crucial in your careers as CMAs, legal compliance. Before we dive in, let me ask you, why do you think businesses need to follow laws and regulations?
Emma, to avoid fines and legal trouble.
Sophia, to protect their reputation and gain trust from investors and customers.
Professor Adams, good points. Compliance ensures businesses follow financial, tax, corporate governance, and ethical standards. It's not just about avoiding trouble, it's about maintaining integrity and sustainability.
Ryan, but isn't compliance just red tape? Don't companies care more about making profits?
Professor Adams, that's a common misconception. Let me tell you a real story about a company that ignored compliance and paid the price. The Enron scandal, a lesson in compliance. Professor Adams, have any of you heard about the Enron scandal?
Emma, yes. Enron manipulated its financial statements, and when the truth came out, the company collapsed.
Sophia, and thousands of employees lost their jobs and retirement savings, right?
Professor Adams, exactly. Enron executives used fraudulent accounting practices to make the company look more profitable than it was. Investors trusted those numbers, but when the fraud was exposed, the stock price crashed, and Enron filed for bankruptcy. This scandal led to the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, SOX, in 2002.
Ryan, so, what does SOX do?
Professor Adams, great question. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act introduced strict rules to prevent financial fraud. It requires, 1. Accurate financial reporting. Companies must report their actual financial position honestly. 2. Internal controls. Businesses must establish systems to detect and prevent fraud. 3. CEO and CFO accountability. Top executives must personally certify financial reports. If a company violates SOX, executives can face huge fines and even prison time. Ryan, wow, I thought compliance was just paperwork, but this is serious. A CMA's role in compliance.
Sophia, Professor, what role do CMAs play in compliance?
Professor Adams, great question. CMAs are key players in ensuring compliance. Here's how. 1. Financial reporting compliance. CMAs ensure reports follow GAAP, IFRS, and SEC regulations. 2. Internal controls and audits. CMAs design internal controls to prevent fraud and conduct audits to verify compliance. 3. Tax compliance. They ensure companies follow tax laws, avoiding penalties. 4. Risk management. CMAs help identify financial risks and create strategies to mitigate them. 5. Ethical decision-making. CMAs uphold the IMA's statement of ethical professional practice to promote integrity.
Emma, that makes sense. But what happens if a CMA ignores compliance?
Professor Adams, if a CMA knowingly engages in fraudulent activities or ignores compliance violations, they could face revocation of CMA certification, legal consequences, including fines or jail time, career damage, as no company will want to hire them again.
Ryan, so, CMAs have a huge responsibility to ensure companies follow the rules?
Professor Adams, absolutely. CMAs are not just number crunchers, they are guardians of financial integrity. Professor Adams, let's put your knowledge to the test. Imagine this scenario. You're a CMA working at a publicly traded company. Your CFO pressures you to adjust financial records to make profits look higher before an investor meeting. They assure you it's just temporary and will be corrected later. What would you do?
Emma, I would refuse and remind them that falsifying financial records is illegal and unethical.
Sophia, I would document the conversation and report it through the appropriate channels.
Ryan, at first, I might be tempted to do it since my job is on the line, but after learning about the risks, I'd report it too. The consequences of fraud are way worse.
Professor Adams, that's the right approach. As CMAs, your job is not just to follow orders but to uphold transparency and integrity. Compliance isn't just a legal duty, it's an ethical responsibility. The impact of compliance on business success. Professor Adams, now that we understand compliance risks, let's talk about why compliance is good for business.
Sophia, it builds trust with investors and stakeholders.
Emma, it prevents fines and legal trouble, saving the company money in the long run.
Ryan, it also creates a good work environment. If employees know their company follows ethical practices, they'll feel safer.
Professor Adams, exactly, compliance is not just about avoiding legal trouble, it promotes transparency, builds trust, and ensures long-term business success. Companies that prioritize compliance are more respected, financially stable, and sustainable. Conclusion: compliance is a career asset. Professor Adams, to summarize, compliance is a vital part of a CMA's career. By following laws, enforcing ethical standards, and ensuring financial integrity, CMAs play a critical role in business success.
Emma, I'm definitely going to study SOX and GAAP more carefully now.
Sophia, I've always been interested in ethics and governance, and now I see how CMAs can drive change.
Ryan, I used to think compliance was just bureaucracy, but now I get that it's what keeps businesses ethical and sustainable.
Professor Adams, smiling, that's the right mindset. Remember, legal compliance is the foundation of trust in business. Stay informed, stay ethical, and you'll be great CMAs.